This is a game from the Yugoslav Championship of '97. The game is between Kovacevic and Gligoric. The game is an example of attacking play in the Spanish opening. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, all the standard moves, knight f6, castle, bishop b7, e5. So Gligoric was a supporter of the Zaitsev variation throughout his career. So here he sticks to that gun, d4. Now the main line of the Zaitsev starts usually with a4, bishop c2. d5 is a bit of a sideline, but a few players play it every once in a while. So knight b8 is a standard idea. From here the knight will come back to the center through d7, and then we'll go to c5. And this early surrender of the center through d5, like the early closing of the center, is not considered to be very dangerous for black, and the idea is that at some point black will break through with c6, and then he will still be able to put some pressure on the white pawn on e4. But it takes time for black to implement all this, and white has some interesting ideas. So knight f1 for now, knight d7, and this is a useful move. The idea of this move, knight 3 to h2, is that when black plays c6, maybe knight c5, he will weaken the control of the d5 square, and this knight on f6 is very important for defending d5, and white wants to play knight to g4 and exchange this knight on f6, and then the other knight can maybe go through e3 to d5, and this way white wants to establish some kind of grip on d5, and so that's the idea behind knight 3 h2 c6. So in this game black decided to attack d5 immediately and break through right away, but often what he does is instead he tries to play something like knight c5, and the idea of this move is to with knight c5 is to first chase away this bishop from this very important diagonal, and only then play c6, and that has its usefulness to it. But in the game he played c6 immediately, and then it turned out that that bishop is very annoying on b3. Captured. Now again white is putting the pressure on this knight on f6, trying to exchange it or at least pin it for now. Queen c7, and now there's this pressure on f6 at the same time, and also on f7. So now this knight can't move from f6, because then f7 is going to fall, and at the same time white is planning to build up the pressure on that knight, so it will also have to stay where it is. Queen b7. Now queen b7 is trying to create some counterplay and establish some pressure on e4, and maybe even play d5. g3, d5. It seems that black is on time to create the counterplay against the white center, and is breaking that grip on d5 that white didn't really even try to establish. But it turns out that white doesn't have to worry too much about d5 yet, because if black ever takes on e4, then this will just open up this diagonal again. So he takes, now queen f5, and this queen is really very annoying there. It stays on the f file, and it's hard to get rid of it. If he plays something like g6, then just knight takes f6 and white wins a piece, so he can't really do that either. But at the same time he has to do something about the pressure on f6, because now white has 3 pieces attacking f6. So he retreated knight d5 at the same time. He's blocking the diagonal temporarily. But now white just recaptures on e4, and he has still a huge concentration of forces on the king side. All these pieces, they're staying on the king side. And black's forces are mostly stuck on the other side of the board, kind of. And this allows white to create a strong attack. Rook e6, rook d1. Now it's not entirely obvious what can white possibly do. It seems like there might be some sacrifices. Knight f6, knight h6, maybe the other knight to f6, maybe bishop f6. But it turns out that the attack becomes a lot stronger when one of the rook joins it. So he plays rook d3, and now the rook is swinging over to the king side, but also, who knows, maybe at some point he'll even be able to put the pressure on the d file with the rook e to d1, rook g3, and now black realizes that he has to do something about this bunch of white pieces on the king side, so he tried to break through with h5, but white has a good response. Bishop takes d5, takes, and now this knight is sacrificing itself. He has to take, otherwise queen h7 mate. Again takes with check. Takes again. White sacrificed the piece, but the rook is now coming over to g3, and it's really hard to do anything about it. So for now he tried to get the bishop out. Now comes another shot. Rook e5, bishop e4, and here comes the queen sacrifice.